Hey, my name is Sam Moore.
I'm James Roberts.
And I'm Brianna Moore. And this is our presentation on the ABAC Vertebrate Collection Improvements Project that we were a part of for Rec and Eco. So the purpose and goals of this project were to clean out the specimen freezer in the wildlife workshop for Dr. Moore and Mr. Ford. And we were adding skulls and wings to the Yao study skin collection. So for me, I love to learn hands-on, and having these specimens and study skins, the wings, everything that you can have in the Wildlife Techniques Lab is super beneficial for my learning, and I'm sure tons of other people's too. So to be a part of something like this, I think we can all agree that it was very beneficial, and it taught us all a lot of things. Before this project, I didn't know how to really. I knew that you could use borax to dry stuff out, but I didn't know the whole process and like cleaning out the skulls and everything else. So it was educational in the long run for all of us. And really having that extra hands-on opportunity with these wings and with these skulls, it really taught us something that we didn't know previously. Because, we learned like rodent skulls and we learned a good amount of skulls in techniques, but having that hands-on and being able to clean the skulls and get the wings and talons and just everything else really made it real that this was something that we're going to use and that we're going to learn and be able to benefit from. And honestly, the feeling of knowing that we are providing all of this for the future students of the Yao is really, it's very interesting and it's very intriguing that we are able to do this for others and be a part of something much larger.
So a little bit more information about our project. Our stakeholders were Dr. Vanessa Lane and Dr. William Moore. And then the date of project completion was April 1st, 2023.
As far as the equipment that we used crock pots, which we put the skulls in to boil them. And we also added borax in there to help loosen up the skin or the flesh that was on the skulls to make it easier to peel off. And then the borax was also used on the exposed flesh on the wings where they were clipped off of the bird to help aid in drying out the flesh. And the scalpels were used on the soft tissue of the wings before we hit bone. And then they were also used to peel back the skin on the skulls so we could get the membranes off the skulls. And then we used a hacksaw to actually cut the bone. After we made it to the soft tissue with the scalpels, we used the hacksaw to actually sever the bone so we could stretch the wing out and start to preserve it. And the loppers also aided in that, made it more easily done.
So the location of our project was the Yale Building and Wildlife Workshop, and primarily we used the table you see here and the sink behind us, and it actually shows a couple of our tools that we use. It shows the crock pot, the hacksaw is right over here, and then you can actually see one of our skulls over in the corner. So a little bit about our project. Our primary focus was to clean out the specimen freezer. There was so much stuff in that specimen freezer. There was stuff from the early 2000s all the way up to last year, and we wanted to get some of that older stuff out that is freezer burnt, just so that way we can continue to add more stuff to our specimen collection. The secondary focus of our project was to remove and preserve talons, wings, and skulls from all the salvageable species in the freezer. For a species to be considered unsalvageable, the skull had to be crushed on it, or the wing was so broken that it was not worth preserving because you couldn't open it up and actually identify the bird, or it had to be so freezer burnt that the feathers were so messed up that you could not identify the bird by the feathers.
Okay, so how do we preserve the specimens? We really did three main things. We preserved the skulls, wings, and talons of each thing that we had, primarily, obviously, avian species. And for the skulls, we removed the head and took the feathers off the head. We would have the crock pot already boiling and getting hot with the borax in it. So then we would put the skulls inside of the crock pot and let it sit for about an hour until everything started kind of falling off and just so once it was taken out of the crock pot, we would take the scalpel and try to get in there and get everything from inside the skull. And then also let the skull sit in borax again to try to just get everything cleaned up. With the wings, they would be removed from the body. The borax would be on the area where the wing was attached to the body. And we pinned the wing open on cardboard and applied borax over the top of it as well, just to make sure everything was kind of getting dried out. So, like, I'm trying to see here. You can see with, like, here, we're cutting stuff off. So, like, that talon would have been about right here. And we would put the borax right on the edge and just let it sit. So then with the talons too, removed from the leg at the joint and then covered the top of the talon with borax and let it sit. So with these steps, like with all the borax, we would keep checking it continuously throughout each day. We would be going back and making sure that like the borax had not been knocked off or blown off, anything like that. And just make sure that every bit of moisture was kind of soaked up with that borax because it was meant to dry everything out. And then so with the talons too, like there were some that would have a lot of moisture on them. So like we would have to keep just applying the borax just to make sure every last bit was getting dried up, just to make sure everything was feasible for the specimens collection. And here's some pictures of everybody kind of doing their little thing. Some examples of preserved specimens that we were able to do. This is a great horned owl skull that Matthew primarily spent a lot of time working on. And it's very neat how we were able to take that from the bird itself and kind of I don't think we have many of these, or if any, in the Wildlife Techniques collection. Mm-hmm. So it's really cool that Matthew had all this time to really sit and get something for us that was new. This is going to be an awesome collection add-on to our specimens, and it was a tough job, wasn't it?
Yeah, it took a lot of time, but even now it's not fully cleaned. It still needs a little bit more time, but due to the time constraints, we actually ran out of time. So
it's a very precise job. I give it to him. So over here with the wings and talons, you can see the talons here, and we have an American kestrel. You can see like the borax that just kind of like came off of it. And up here we have some other just feathers and everything. These are completely dried out. So they were ready to go. They turned out very good.
So we also had to meet with our stakeholders as part of this project. We met with Dr. Moore and talked to him about what should and what should not be taken out of the freezer. And the main things he told us not to mess with were they had just got 2 wood storks in and a double-crested cormorant, and he told us not to mess with those, but they were going to have those full-body stuffed, so that way we can have them and add them to our specimen collection. We also met with Dr. Lane to discuss what we needed to preserve off of the raptors, and she told us we needed to focus on skulls, tail feathers, and wings and talons. The thing with the skulls, she wanted us to make sure we tried at least 1 or 2 to try to save the sclerotic ring on the skulls. This is the ring, or the bone around the eye in all raptors, and it's only found in raptors, and it's a very easy bone to break. So we had to look up videos on how to do that successfully without breaking the bone, but also getting it clean and getting the skull clean. Then we also had to meet with Mr. Ford. Although he wasn't one of our stakeholders, we had to meet with him just to obtain the crock pots and the borax because they were in the techniques lockup.
So, overall success. We considered this project a success due to us being able to preserve 38 wings, 5 skulls, and 20 talons. And we also created a list of the species that were in the freezer, like a log, so you can tell what's been in and what we took out.
And then this is a picture of everything that we were able to preserve throughout this project. We got numerous turkey wings, several species of hawks, an osprey, kestrel. We have several snipe wings over here in the corner, along with several northern bobwhite, and we even found 2 green-winged teal wings stuffed in there that were in a clump. And then there's also several owl species that we were able to preserve.
Yeah, like he said with the northern bobwhite wings, we had bags from like 2010, I think. And there was probably 20 northern bobwhite wings just in this one little plastic bag that we really just went through all of that, and we would decide what was able to be kept, what was able to be saved, and we'd pick like the best, like maybe 10 or 15, and that's what you see here. Over here, we were able to pick the ones that you were going to be able to age the best, what students were going to be able to sex the best, and just really get a good look at, and that weren't all completely beaten up. Overall, like, there was many more wings than this, and just feathers and stuff, but out of all of that, just since stuff had been in the freezer for so long, this is really all we were able to save, because just things had gotten beaten all and freezer burnt. Like, it's kind of sad to see some of the stuff that wasn't able to be saved just because there was so much. But I think overall, like Matthew said, we had a lot of success with this, and I'm happy with the outcome of what we were able to save.
So for our future ideas, we believe that continuing the upkeep on the freezers, so having more people from this class or even student workers actually continue to take out these specimens that have been in there for so long, and just keep it up so it doesn't build back up on us like it has in this past time. So, and also we have the idea that we need to log the items that are put in the freezer. This would be very, very, very beneficial to staff and students to know what goes in and what goes out of the freezer. So you would write down when you put something in there, and then you would check it out, like mark it off when you take it out, so you actually know the contents. And we also would recommend that another group preserves the mammal specimens that are in the freezer, because due to the time constraints, we weren't actually able to make it to the mammals. So mostly what we did were avian species.